Morning. Welcome to the Gulch. It's a kind of a typical fall morning here in Nova Scotia. Got a lot of work to do today, but I'm going to go in the house and make Mama a pot of coffee, and then I'll get after it. So why don't you come inside and have a pot of coffee with us? All right, time to make a cup of coffee. Teresa likes her coffee, and she does not like instant coffee. Not a fan at all. Back in the 1970s, a friend of mine opened up a donut shop in Prince Edward Island. And they were doing the better part of $1 million a year selling coffee in cups that size at 10 cents a cup. This is one of the cups from their store, actually. That's an antique now. How were they selling coffee for 10 cents a cup and doing $1 million a year? By selling a damn good cup of coffee, something you don't find very often today. Now you pay the better part of $4 for a cup that don't taste nothing like it did in the 1970s. Or you go into Starbucks and pay $8 for a cup they can't even pronounce. Now, I could make Teresa a cup with that. But I'd end up in the doghouse, and she'd end up with heartburn, or 20 minutes later be in the bathroom dumping out her colon. That's what instant hot coffee does to you. And then there's all this stuff that she bought. This. I feel like she should be calling me Pierre when I make her a coffee with that. And then the other day, she came home with this. I don't even know what the hell it is. But apparently, it's going to make a cup of coffee. Look at it. It's like 4 different pieces. That comes out, the coffee goes in there, the water goes in the bottom, and somehow it squirts out the top. That ain't no way to make a good cup of coffee. A good cup of coffee should not leave you with heartburn. It shouldn't leave you with anything but a smooth flavor that goes down good. And the only way to do that is to boil it. Now, I'm turning on the pot here. It's been on for a while. I'm just reheating the water here. This is a coffee pot. It's nothing but a coffee pot. It was washed when I got it, and then it was seasoned, and that's it. It'll never see soap again. So, I filled the pot up to about here. And that's it. Now I'm going to let it get hot. And that's pretty damn good right there. All right, today we're making a coffee with SOB, the Special Ops blend from the Long Range Coffee Company. The Long Range Coffee Company roasts their beans right here in Canada. The company is run by Canadian Special Operations veterans, and 100% of the net proceeds from the sale of this coffee is donated to causes that benefit the military and first responders through the Wounded Warriors Canada, and they donate to at-risk youth programs through the RCMP Foundation. It's a good company. We'll have a link in the description for you. Give them a shout. Okay. I've got my kettle. The water's nice and hot. We're going to use 1/4 of a cup of this coffee. Now, we don't want the water boiling. That's the last thing we want. You'll end up with a mess in the kitchen if that water's boiling when you pour the coffee in. Okay, that's all there is to it for now. We're going to let that water come to a boil. Turned it up just a little bit. We're going to let that water come to a boil. You don't want your coffee bitter. You want a nice, smooth coffee. And to get that, you got to boil it. So, you can't take off on it. You take off, and this stuff's going to boil over. So we're just going to sit here and wait. And when that starts to boil, a nice rolling boil, we'll be back. And you can see that coffee's not boiling yet. The ground's just laying on top. And we're just going to let it boil. We get a good rolling boil in the coffee now. That's what we want. Letting it boil takes the bitterness out of the coffee. It'll leave you nothing but smooth coffee. So we're going to leave that to boil for 4 minutes. Then we'll take it off and we'll get at it. Be right back. Okay, that's been boiling almost 4 minutes. None of the 10 seconds, it'll be 4 minutes. So in 9 seconds, I'm going to turn the heat off, and we're going to add a little bit of cold water to it. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of water down the spout. As the boiling took place, it certainly sent water or grounds into the spout. Now I'm pouring some cold water around it, and what that cold water is doing is forcing the grounds to the bottom of the pot. Okay, now I'm going to turn off the heat. We're going to set that aside for a few minutes. Put the lid on, leave it for a couple of minutes. In about 5 minutes, Teresa's going to get an awesome cup of coffee. Now this takes a little bit longer, but it's a smooth pot of coffee that's not going to leave an aftertaste, and it's not going to give you a heartburn. All right, coffee's made. Take a wet paper towel and just run it along the inside of the coffee pot. If there's any grounds that get up there from boiling, you'll catch them. There's a little bit. That's the end of that. Now let's pour Teresa a cup of coffee. All that coffee needs a little bit of cream, maybe a little sugar if that's what you like. And that's that. That's your coffee. Would you like a cup of coffee?
Sure. Never turned down a cup of coffee. All right. So let's see.
Let's see what you think.
Never ceases to amaze me how good this is. And I like French press and the mocha coffee pot, and this is a different coffee experience. It's good.
And the grinds end up in the bottom of the pot. You don't get grinds in your coffee. The cold water is what does it. Now remember though, you've got a coffee pot that's made for coffee. That's all. It never sees soap again. Every time you make coffee, you can rinse it out, but every time you make coffee, it seasons it more. It's just like good cast iron. Now, what we'll do with that is we'll rinse it out and take it downstairs and put it upside down on the wood stove. And let the wood heat dry it. You don't want any moisture left in that pot or it'll rust eventually. So it'll go downstairs on the wood stove, and that's the end of it until the next time Mama needs a pot of coffee made. And that's the end of it. Not always the easy way, but it's the cowboy way. And we will see you again at Muskrat Gulch. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to share it with your friends too. And then in the links below, you're going to find a link to the Long Range Coffee Company. Give them a shout, okay?